Namaste. Welcome to another episode of Face to Face. Today we have with us Reba Browne, a noted international artist, dancer, choreographer with extraordinary talent, a unique style of her own with international experiences. She has not only carved a niche for herself but is considered an expert in the Indian dance community. So let's welcome Reba to Face on IndiaLife TV. Welcome to the show, Reba.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Likewise. And I love your outfit. You look amazing.
Thank you so much. And namaste to all the viewers around the world.
So Reba, we'd like to know a lot about you. You're a very interesting person. What and who inspired you to be a dancer?
It is very interesting. This is what my mother and my family tell me, that I had rhythm in my body. Apparently, whenever a song would play, I would start dancing even when I was a baby. Mm-hmm. But the main inspiration was my grandmother, and she's the one who saw that in me and enrolled me into classes. Of course, I cried. But I had strict Kathak training, and as you know, you have to wear these big ghungroos, and I was a child and they used to hurt, but I had to do it anyway. And
no pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain. Yeah. That is true.
So your grandmother, she herself was a dancer as well?
She was not. She was a math teacher. Did not dance.
Okay, so she just saw
the potential
in you, and
yes,
she
and pushed me.
And that's good.
And she used to actually joke, like when I was still in Delhi. That's where I grew up. So she used to always tell people that, oh yes, she's a dancer and she's going to go around the world and dance. Nobody knew that would be true. She manifested it.
Oh, that's nice. And so when did your actual classical dance journey, when did it begin?
So like I said, I started dancing at the age of 7. I was on stage at the age of 10. And somewhere there, I immediately fell in love with it. And as an artist, which everybody would agree, that the main part, of course, you want to be good in the studio while you're in classes, but when you're on stage, it's a completely different experience in front of all the audiences. Mm-hmm. So I would say I was around 13, 14 when I started. I had my Indian classical training in Kathak, mm-hmm. and then I also started doing Indian contemporary. And I was like, oh, okay, I like this.
So you trained in both?
I trained in both, and then I grew up and I joined a jazz dance company.
Oh, that's nice. That's extreme, right?
Flipped variety.
So how did you find that? Which one do you like more? Like the Indian classical? And I know it's
tricky.
It's a very tricky question to be asking you, but which one did at that age, especially because you are just getting introduced into the Indian classical dance, and then you see jazz, so which one was like, oh, this is more fun than this, or it was this?
Of course jazz was more fun because it was more popular, and then you can do all the new popular songs, and Kathak is more slower, there's more discipline. Mm-hmm. Well, of course jazz had a lot of training as well, but you were with the in crowd and at that age.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The good thing though, whatever the reasons be, was that then I got the best of both worlds. I got my training in Indian classical, and then I got my training in jazz. I was trained in ballet and then modern and contemporary. So it's like learning different languages, but in dance while you're moving. So it was beautiful.
And that at that young age, you pick up things very fast.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
So that's very interesting. So when did you start your journey as a professional dancer?
So this is an interesting story. I was dancing throughout. So first I was in school, college. I was dancing in college and performing and competing, mm-hmm. and then I started working. I was in advertising. I was a copywriter, mm-hmm. and I was a jazz dancer. And then one day, one of my instructors, she came to me and she was like, "Do you want to teach?" Mm-hmm. And I was like, sure, but I don't know anything about it. So she's like, why don't you become a probationer and let's see where it goes. I was like, okay, but I have a job. She's like, yeah, fine, you can, this is in the evenings, you work during the day. It's like, okay. So 3 years I did that. I used to work during the day, and then in the evening I used to go teach classes, train. You had to finish like 100 hours in a week.
Okay.
So we had to do that. And not a week, in a month.
Okay.
100 hours in a week is a lot.
Yeah, that's you'd be sitting in the dance
Exactly.
So, the dance theater.
But we got very fit, and then recession hit, and things were getting like weird in the professional world. And then I was just sitting, and I got actually an interview call to be in a bigger advertising agency, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I actually want to dance.
Oh. So you just followed your heart.
Well, I quit, and then I just became full-time dancer.
And how did your family react to that?
My mother will deny this, but she refused to speak to me for 2 months.
Oh my God.
My father was very, very supportive. Of course, my grandmother was. She was like, yes, you are fulfilling the dream that I had for you. You are going to go to New York and
Because
dance.
she had manifested this.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like, you're going to go around the world and dance. Yes.
That's nice. That's very nice. Very sweet of her. I mean, she had that confidence in you.
Yes.
And then how did you convince your mom?
So basically, in the beginning, she was like, I don't know what's going on. This is some cult you're getting involved in, all these dance companies. And then she saw that I could like earn money, I could support myself, and I was good. And I was performing and choreographing and teaching. And then she's like, okay.
So, what dance styles did you train in?
Okay, so like I said, it was started with Kathak because Kathak was so strict, went to jazz funk, modern. I had to train in ballet to get my training in jazz. There was, and when you do Indian classical and Indian contemporary, so depending on your teachers, you do a lot of like, sometimes there's an Orisi teacher, sometimes it's a Bharatanatyam teacher. So you get elements of everything. You don't train necessarily in it, but you perform a lot of pieces, and then you get to mix and match, and then you learn working with all these people how you can take something from this, take something from that, and in the end, everything fits together. They are different styles, but there's always like a little similarity, maybe in the music.
So did you, like your friends circle, did you teach anyone in your friends circle? Not as a professional, in a professional way, but just as, like, you will have like get together with friends and all. And
of course.
So would you just go and, teach them?
And experiment on all of them.
Yeah,
I liked this step.
So they do have like certain steps that they learn from you, and they go forward with those steps in.
Or they saw something, and especially now when it's like, well, those times there was no TikTok, but now they're like, "Ooh, how do you do this step?"
So
like,
so they are able to use those steps in their TikTok. So you gotta teach me some.
Sure.
Maybe in the end of the show we can make some TikTok. So where and what was your first, performance in New York City? Oh, where was it first?
It was in Broadway Dance Center.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I came here as a student because then, of course, all these changes that happened in my life, my family is very nice. They supported me.
Okay.
Like, I'm quitting my job. Okay. I'm moving to New York. Okay. So I found this program at Broadway Dance Center, and I told my parents that this is where I want to go. And my father said, okay. No questions asked.
I mean, of course.
Which now that I think back, this was 11 years ago. I'm like so grateful. I was like, if you had said no, if anybody had said no, I would not be here.
Oh yeah, that's true. And I mean, who would say no to Broadway?
Yes.
Right? It's like a dream come true for any artist.
Yes.
And I'm sure your dad saw that, and it's very nice that he supported you. And
so I came here, and I was the only student in my program who was native Indian.
Oh, okay.
So then they have a student showcase where the students put up choreographies. So everybody was putting up different choreographies. Somebody was doing ballroom, somebody was doing jazz, there was contemporary. Then I decided I will do Bollywood.
Okay, so
I did Aja Nachle.
Okay.
That was my first choreography, and we presented it at BDC.
Oh, nice. Beautiful. Reba, I'd really love to know about your journey since you've been here for the past 11 years. Where else you've performed in North America other than New York City?
Well, I have toured with dance companies. So we have performed.
Tell me more about your the
Sure.
dance companies.
So I've collaborated with different dance companies and worked with a lot of them, which is a great experience because they are all doing so well, and their theme and their mission of the company is the same as mine. That they want to promote Indian culture and share it with a global audience. So we have toured, like there's a whole show, it's called Mystic India, and it's a complete journey of India through dance.
Through dance.
So there are like different songs. You're part of like some 13 dance choreographies which you have to learn in like 3 weeks.
Wow.
So we took that to DC, it was Milwaukee and NJPAC, and then also like when a lot of Bangladeshi awards and a lot of Indian Bollywood stars and musicians, they come to New York City or they tour in North America.
Right.
And we dance for them. And I was in Florida for Shan.
Wow.
When Shan was here. And I would tell you the names of the actors for the Bangladesh awards, but I do not know them. But they were very popular. People were very excited.
So what is it like, being a performing artist in the New York City itself?
You find it very interesting that in this country, a lot of people, like unless you are like first generation, second generation Indian or South Asian, people still associate when you say, oh, I'm doing Bollywood, they think belly dancing.
Right.
So which is, you kind of, you're like, no, it's a different kind of dance completely.
Right.
So you're, in a way, every time you're dancing and performing, you're educating people. And then they realize, and then India anyway has such a vibrant history and culture, and they see all our costumes which are vibrant and the music is exciting and upbeat. And you also get to tell them that, okay, there's something, because we have classical Indian dance,
Right.
then we also have folk dance, then you do a lot of Bhangra
Right.
or Garba, and you have Bollywood. So they are just like, wow.
So when you're teaching your own students, you have students over here who are enrolled in your dance company.
Yes.
So are they all Indian from the Indian community, or
No.
do you have mixed from
Mixed.
other races?
Yes.
So
for
how
sure.
do they take, our classical dances, and how do they see it?
They love it. They actually, they practice pretty much more.
Yeah, they need to do more.
Yeah.
Okay, understand.
And they, like, in fact, in my when I used to teach Kathak, this was level 2, and one of my students was Asian. She was not even Indian. The other students were Indian. But she was at par with everybody. She was practicing. She would call me and be like, "Oh, I need to practice extra." Her mother would call and be like, "Can we do something extra rehearsals for her?"
Right, because
they were very into it.
Because the classical dance, it has, like, the words are all,
Yes.
in the Kathak would
Yes.
have like
And they're not even words; they're syllables.
syllables, right? So how do they understand that? Like, they would not even understand which word which goes for which mudra.
Correct.
Right, so I'm sure they'll definitely need more practice, but how do they, like, do they ever come and tell you, like, I find this difficult, and I would like to know more about this special mudras, and then you would teach them, or?
Yes, for sure. So they always, I love their enthusiasm. Like, even dancers that I dance with, they all Google the lyrics. If it's a Bollywood song or something, then they figure out. Or when we are doing a dance, especially if I'm choreographing, I usually choreograph to lyrics. So I'm like, okay, this means jhumka, so do it here, and this is a earring. So they're like, oh, we learned a new word. So they do research as well. Plus, anytime they get stuck, they come and ask me, and then when I explain, because dance is like storytelling.
Right.
Like, every time we're doing a Bollywood step or Bollywood dance, it's like you're telling a story. So I'm like, okay, this is what it means. And then immediately the step also becomes easier for them. They're like, oh, this is what this means. I understand what to do now.
Oh, So about the costumes, how do they get the costumes? Do you have any particular person or a store where you go and buy for your students, or do you get all that from India? Like, do you get
when we are performing as a company, I do get them from India.
Okay.
I wish I did. But because I want it to be authentic, everything is part of looking authentic. Like, this is what we are presenting to you, this is what we are showcasing or educating you on. So we want everything to look exactly as it is, not what it might look like.
Right.
And then again, if you Google on Amazon Bollywood costume, you will get belly dancing costume.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Right. The skirts. I've seen that. Yeah, the flare skirts. That's what we get. Yes, I've seen that.
So I'm like, this is not true. I cannot do my dance in this.
So you have special company back home in India.
Yes,
you
and I
order
usually order through them. Yes.
Okay, that's nice. And all the jewelry and
Yes.
everything is a part.
And
of that.
every time we go to India or my friend is going to India, I'm like, please, may I have some jewelry?
Okay, that's nice. And also, you mentioned about your, when you came here, you did some odd jobs at restaurants. So how did your family take it? Like, because back home in India, we're not used to that. We're like, I'm sure you were, while growing up, you were your dad's little princess.
Yes.
And coming over here and doing odd jobs, how did they take it?
They were not pleased.
Okay.
Well, my mother did say, because it was a restaurant, she immediately said, do they know that you break everything? And I was like, no, mother, I don't have to pick up anything. I'm just a hostess.
Okay.
But see, I got $20 tip today.
Oh, wow.
She was like, oh my God. I was like, this is amazing. I make money.
Yeah, you're independent, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how did you, like, how going back to India and then coming back over here, how do you feel, like, sometimes, people, when they go back to India, they say, no, this is my home, I want to stay back over here. And, you're dancing and you can still continue the dance over there back home in India as well. So do you ever get that feeling, the temptation over there? Like, yeah, I wish I could just stay back home in India and just continue the same thing over here rather than going abroad and living elsewhere
Like
and
myself.
doing our jobs and, just staying with family. That makes a huge difference.
Yes.
So,
I basically just tell them, if only I could pick up all the people that I love in India and bring them here. And they tell me it's easier for one person to come here than all of us to come there. And of course the food.
So do you cook?
I cook to feed myself,
Okay.
but not as nicely as my what I'm used to, what I
Okay.
grew up with. So every time my mother comes, she's like, I see that you know how to make dal. Now let me teach you how to make dal actually.
Okay.
Like what it should taste like. I'm like, but this is dal, this is great. It's like, no. But in India, it's different. Like, of course, I have my friends there, I have my family, I have all the support I need. But the beauty of, again, being here is that you get to share your culture with a wider audience who appreciate it, who give you feedback, and then in a way you feel like ambassadors
Right.
of promoting your culture or promoting your teaching, promoting dance in general. And just like when we go to schools and teach, like we have assemblies and we have after school classes, and we tell them the history of India, like for example how Kathak originated. So everything is in a way educational, and also they're learning something new, plus they are becoming everything, especially when you do classical dance or some version of it. There's a certain sort of discipline, like there's in ballet. People need to practice their accounts, they need to go with the beat, there's musicality involved, there are so many elements that you get to teach.
Right.
And especially like you said before, if it's non-Indians, then they are exposed to a completely new world, which works great for me as a teacher or as a performer. And even after our shows, a lot of people have questions and they want to know more about India, which I am so grateful that I get the opportunity to do that.
So you do have workshops in schools as well?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. So how young, I would like to know which is the the youngest
I have taught.
Yeah.
They were actually, I would say, 3 years old. That's the youngest I've taught pre-K.
Okay, pre-K.
Yeah, even in India I've taught. That young.
Okay. So is this...
And the oldest is 60.
it should not, dance should not have any age.
There's
right?
no limit.
Yeah, there's no limit, yeah. Reba, this was a very interesting conversation.
Thank you.
We will continue with our conversation in our next episode. Stay tuned. So about the costumes, how do they get the costumes? Do you have any particular person or a store where you go and buy for your students, or do you get all that from India? Like, do you get
when we are performing as a company, I do get them from India.
Okay.
I wish I had tailor here. But because I want it to be authentic, everything is part of looking authentic. Like, this is what we are presenting to you, this is what we are showcasing or educating you on. So we want everything to look exactly as it is, not what it might look like.
Right.
And then again, if you Google on Amazon Bollywood costume, you will get belly dancing costume.
Oh yeah. Right. The skirts. I've seen that. Yeah, the flare skirts. That's what we get. Yes, I've seen that.
Like, this is not true. I cannot do my dance in this.
So you have special company back home in India.
Yes, and I usually order through them. Yes.
Okay, that's nice. And all the jewelry and
yes,
everything is a part.
And
of
every time we go to India or my friend is going to India, I'm like, please, may I have some jewelry?
Okay, that's nice. And also, you mentioned about your, when you came here, you did some odd jobs at restaurants. So how did your family take it? Like, because back home in India, we're not used to that. We are like, I'm sure you were, while growing up, you were your dad's little princess.
Yes.
And coming over here and doing odd jobs, how did they take it?
They were not pleased.
Okay.
Well, my mother did say, because it was a restaurant, she immediately said, do they know that you break everything? And I was like, no, mother, I don't have to pick up anything. I'm just a hostess.
Okay.
But see, I got $20 tip today.
Oh, wow.
She was like, oh my God. I was like, this is amazing. I make money.
Yeah, you're independent, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how did you, going back to India and then coming back over here, how do you feel sometimes people, when they go back to India, they say, no, this is my home, I want to stay back over here, and you're dancing and you can still continue the dance over there back home in India as well. So do you ever get that feeling, the temptation over there, like, yeah, I wish I could just stay back home in India and just continue the same thing over here, rather than going abroad and living elsewhere and doing our jobs and just staying with family? That makes a huge difference.
Yes.
So
I basically just tell them, if only I could pick up all the people that I love in India and bring them here. And they tell me it's easier for one person to come here than all of us to come there. And of course the food.
So do you cook?
I cook to feed myself,
Okay.
but not as nicely as what I'm used to, what I grew up with. So every time my mother comes, she's like, I see that you know how to make dal. Now let me teach you how to make dal actually.
Okay.
Like what it should taste like. I'm like, but this is dal, this is great. It's like, no. But in India, it's different. Like, of course, I have my friends there, I have my family, I have all the support I need. But the beauty of, again, being here is that you get to share your culture with a wider audience who appreciate it, who give you feedback, and then in a way you feel like ambassadors of promoting your culture or promoting your teaching, promoting dance in general. And just like when we go to schools and teach, like we have assemblies and we have after school classes, and we tell them the history of India, like for example how Kathak originated. So everything is in a way educational, and also they're learning something new, plus they are becoming everything, especially when you do classical dance or some version of it. There's a certain sort of discipline, like there's in ballet. People need to practice, there are counts, they need to go with the beat, there's musicality involved, there are so many elements that you get to teach. And especially like you said before, if it's non-Indians, then they are exposed to a completely new world, which works great for me as a teacher or as a performer. And even after our shows, a lot of people have questions and they want to know more about India, which I am so grateful that I get the opportunity to do that.
So you do have workshops in schools as well?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. So how young? I would say, I would like to know which is the the youngest
I have taught.
Yeah.
They were actually, I would say, 3 years old. That's the youngest I've taught pre-K.
Okay, pre-K.
Yeah, even in India I've taught. Yeah, that young.
Okay. So is this?
And the oldest is 60.
It should not. Dance should not have any age.
There's no limit.
Yeah, there's no limit. Yeah. Reba, this was a very interesting conversation.
Thank you.
We will continue with our conversation in our next episode. Stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of Face to Face on IndiaLife TV with renowned artist Reba Browne, who's not only a dancer but also a founder of her own dance company, Reba Browne Dance Company, RBDC. Last episode, our conversation started with her journey from Delhi to New York. We have discussed her inspirations, her achievements. Today, we will talk about her dance company and all the performances, her family, and many more. So, Reba, coming back to our conversation where we left off, we'd like to know about your company that you started here, your dance company.
Yes, of course.
Tell us more about it.
This was like a lot of things and the product of the pandemic, where everything was still and nothing was happening. And like I said before, I've collaborated with a lot of other dance companies. A lot of my friends are dancers. We work together, and everything was shut down, and we really wanted to dance. It was just the need, because nothing was happening.
Right.
And all my friends were like, Reba, why don't you start? You anyway used to lead rehearsal. Why don't you start? Do something. We'll come. And it was an idea, and one of the guests at a restaurant that I was eating, we were having a conversation, and he said, what do you do? And I said, I'm a dancer. And he said, oh my God, I'm having a holy show. I need dancers. Can you come perform? So that was literally at that moment, RBDC was born.
Oh, wow.
Like between my friends telling me and this show that came up, and then RBDC was born.
Oh, okay.
And I really, whenever I talk about it or tell people, whenever people announce us, I always say it was literally the passion of dance. It is for and by the passion of dance, Indian dance. And our mission is to promote Indian dance, preserve the culture of Indian dance, and share it with everybody, irrespective of their backgrounds.
So, where did this holy party happen?
Oh, it was in Long Island.
Long Island. And, so, was it about Bollywood dance or?
Yes, it was Bollywood dancing. It was a full-on holy party, and we presented a Bollywood piece.
Oh, wow.
In the past as well, while the last decade that I've been here, we have so many opportunities as artists, especially cultural artists, where you have the Api month in May, and you have festivals like Holi and Diwali, which everybody is recognizing more now. So people want to celebrate it, whether it is Indians in their own private homes or have a festival for the community,
Right.
or even like museums. I have performed at museums like Brooklyn Children's Museum. We go every year and we perform there, and we have a whole workshop, and there's a whole, it's promoted as a holy show.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of people from Brooklyn show up with their children, and everybody enjoys it a lot. Similarly, in Jersey, we have every year we have a holy show, and so many people come, and I would say like 70% is non-Indians. So you reach like thousands of people with just one event.
Right.
And Holi is such a beautiful event.
Yeah.
And the message is so good. You're
So
coloring
my
everybody.
favorite.
Yes.
So my favorite event. Yeah.
And it promotes diversity, and it promotes unity. And you're just like, if everybody's colorful, nobody's different.
So do you pick up like any particular, song for the, the performance,
Yes.
or it's just, on the go? They put the song and you guys have to perform it.
That was when we were children. Now, according to each event, I personally like to decide, like if it's a holy thing, there's like Palam Pichkari, or there's some holy
okay.
songs.
So all holy theme.
Yes.
Okay.
So that even when you do, like I said, dance is storytelling, and even when we perform, we are showing actions, like we're showing a pichkari, or we're throwing colors, or somebody. So it's like a dance drama that's happening.
Like what is? Okay. Balam Pichkari,
Yes.
that song. Okay.
Or you're throwing color and then you're moving away, so people understand that, oh, this happens, this is part of the culture.
Okay.
And same like if it's Diwali, then you have a diya.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So do they, when you're going to go perform, do the organizers, they ask you to perform like on these songs, or is it your own choices?
It is our choice.
Your choice.
Usually for such big events or like cultural events, they usually just leave it to us.
Okay.
Usually for weddings is when they sometimes have like a request. They're like, oh, this is what the bride likes. This is a favorite song of the groom. Can you do something on this? And we do.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. We'll come to the wedding part also. So how many people, like at a time, from your dance company, how many people perform at any given time?
Well, I've danced with, like I said, when we toured, there were 80 people on stage.
Oh.
And we can go as little as 2 people. I've done solos.
Okay.
My last solo performance was at Brooklyn Museum and then Lincoln Center last year.
Lincoln Center, that's nice, very nice. Your dad has done the proper, decision
Yes.
by choosing Broadway. So Lincoln Center is another dream come true.
Yes, and it was very sweet. It was called Expressions Through Dance, the event that they had last year. And it was like a comeback from the pandemic also. And Lincoln Center actually asked us to provide our pictures when we were children. So I have me 7-year-old there. It was very cute. I was like, this is where it began, and this is where I am today.
Oh, okay.
It was a very humbling yet like call this? Humbling and what moment?
Sweet.
No. Reassuring. It was a very humbling yet reassuring moment.
That from where to where, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So also you mentioned that you perform in weddings. So and you said that they would sometimes they would give you the choice of dance. When they give you a choice of dance, sometimes certain steps might be hard. Like, do you choreograph? You mentioned that you choreograph your own, but do you also get inspired from the movies? Certain steps. Some steps are like, the recent Karthik Aryan's step, which my son, he has tried. I mean, it's very hard, I know. I mean, certain steps are so hard. So how do you manage to get on to your performance?
So from the time, like I said, when we grew up, having songs that are like the signature steps, you call them, is like, you need to have that.
Yeah.
Like, we grew up watching videos and we grew up copying Sridevi and Madhuri Dixit all our lives, and then this is how she did it, and then just keep practicing until you get it.
Right.
So like recently we performed for Desi Girl with Priyanka Chopra. So I didn't have to explain that step to anybody because everybody exactly knew what to do.
Okay.
And I was like, this is amazing, where I don't have to teach a simple step.
Right.
But sometimes, like the newer ones, like if we get tricky, Bollywood wants to experiment, there's a lot of practice involved. Then you have to break it down.
Okay.
But we like to take like sometimes signature steps so that even the audience, when they are watching,
performance.
yeah,
Okay.
and
so
they,
it's easy for them.
yes,
Okay.
and they can relate to it.
Uh-huh.
Because if you don't do a step, then it's like, oh, is it really that song?
Right. So of all your performances, I'm sure every performance is, it has its own sweet movement, and every performance is something that is very has its own personal touch to you to it. But what is it that you enjoy the most, like of all the performances that you have performed?
Well, I really still, which is funny, my grandmother will be very happy, really enjoy a classical piece. I really enjoy doing Kathak.
Okay.
So every time I have a Kathak choreography, I just from inside my heart is smiling.
Oh, okay.
But or complete opposite, full on Bollywood.
Bollywood. Okay. So which is your favorite song
Ooh.
that you go for? Like any time, like you would have this particular song on your choreography. Like it has to be there. This particular song.
I have to think about this.
Yeah, take your time. That's fine. We'll come back to it. Or any favorite actress?
Sridevi or Madhuri.
Sridevi and Madhuri. Okay.
I would say probably, but I want like, what is my favorite song? I have no idea.
See, it's just on the go.
It is on the go.
Every year you have some list of
Because
songs.
new songs come
Yeah.
out, and then you have to obviously like get better and upgrade yourself with the
Right.
changing world.
Anything that's old songs.
I really like Ek Do Teen.
Take the So that's
And
nice.
Le Gayi Le Gayi.
Oh, okay.
Those are my time songs.
That's nice. You said you love Madhuri and Sridevi, but you have your own style, right? And where did that genes come from?
Oh, surprisingly, nobody in my family is a dancer. They are all singers.
Oh, wow.
My-
Do you sing?
No. That is one thing I cannot do. I can sing badly.
Badly.
My mother is actually a sitar player and she is classically trained in Hindustani classical music. All my aunts, and they sing beautifully. They were in the choir and they actually had training. I have a giant sitar in my house because my mother used to play. I went to the same school, Gandhar Mahavidyalaya in Delhi, for dance.
Oh.
So I'm the only dancer. My cousin, however, my Masi's daughter, she and I, every time there was a family gathering, they would make us sit down and be like, okay, dance.
Dance. So you guys would perform.
We would perform
For your
all the
family.
favorite songs
But-
and then do all the steps from the movie.
But do you teach your mom any dance steps?
We had to when my sister got married.
Oh, okay.
I had the privilege of teaching everybody, made them all dance. I
Dance.
was like, this is for all the years, giving it back.
So tell me something about your family, how many siblings you are.
There's my brother, he also plays the drums. He's also very good with music. They all have rhythm. They're
Okay.
not terrible dancers. Like, I'm a terrible singer. But they're all more musically inclined.
Okay.
And I'm the only one who's the dancer. Well, not the black swan, pun intended.